Hey everybody, Skip Davis here from D4 Graphics and your Stahls ambassador. Today we're going to be filming a video about building our own emblems or patches for either hats or apparel. We're going to be using foam, soft flock, some HTV, and some UltraColor Max to help round out the different ways we can do this. Join me, let's get started. With building our own patches, we're going to use two of my favorite HTVs. We have soft flock and we have some soft foam. Both of these have already been cut on a plotter prior, so we're going to show you the process of weeding them and getting ready to build our own patch. So foam and flock both come on a roll like regular HTV and can be cut on your vinyl cutter. Both of them use a 60-degree blade versus your normal 45-degree blade just because it's a thicker material. And the foam tends to be a little harder to remove from the backing. It's a little stickier. So you can see both of our shapes. In this shape, we actually have two of them that we've cut because we're going to make this one a little more dimensional than the flock version. So now that we have both our flock and our foam weeded off from the carrier and all that's left is our background shape for our patches, we're going to head over to the heat press to get started on our next step. To begin this process of removing the flock from the carrier, what I like to do is I like to preheat our lower platen. Now the press has been over top of the platen, so we do have some good heat retention, so I'm not actually going to pull the press down. What we like to do is put this on upside down to heat the carrier a little bit, and what this does is it helps us remove the foam, or the flock in this case, without any distortion or stretching of the actual shape. Because when we go to put the UltraColor Max down, we want that shape to be as true to the original shape that was cut on the plotter as possible. So you can see it peeled very easily with that heat that we added. If we don't put it on the press to heat it, you do run the risk of it stretching and not aligning properly. So here we have our actual UltraColor Max logo that we're going to put down onto the flock. The flock stays nice and flat once you get a little bit of heat on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to check the alignment on this. Kind of hard to see through the carrier, but we do have good alignment. There was no stretching or distortion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some thermal tape. What I like to do is when I have it in my spot that I'm comfortable with, take that thermal tape and I put it on the corners. I have found that if I place it over the actual UltraColor Max or HTV being used, you will get some lines through your HTV and UltraColor Max from when the press comes down to adhere the UltraColor Max to the flock. So now that we've got that in place, we're going to take a piece of craft paper as our cover sheet. And again, like we've talked about in other videos, this is a quick tack. The UltraColor Max only needs 3 seconds to adhere to the flock. As soon as we hit that, we're going to peel it. And we're at 290. We've only got a couple seconds on there. And as you can see, the step of adhering the UltraColor Max to the flock turns out great. Got a nice border, nice symmetrical all the way around. So you can build these 1 up, 2 up, 3 up, however many you'd like to do at one time. And now you've got ready to go emblems or patches to be applied to either hats or apparel. Okay, so let's move on to the same process of creating our emblems or patches, but with using soft foam instead of the flock. It's the same process, but the foam is stuck to their carrier a little bit better. So we are going to preheat just a little bit more than we did with the flock because the foam doesn't like to come off the carrier as easily. And we want to still make sure that we're doing it slowly to maintain the shape of the design. You can see that heat really lets that piece release. So there's the release on one, but we're going to use two pieces this time to get a little added extra dimension to this logo. So let's heat this one up. Let's get this one started. Give it some heat. Okay, so now we have two pieces of, this is actually textured soft foam, which I really like because once the UltraColor Max goes down on it, you'll be able to see that texture through the UltraColor Max. Okay, so now that we have both of our pieces of foam removed from the carrier, we're going to put the two of them together to create a little bit more dimension on this patch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the lower platen. We're going to cover it with a piece of craft paper, and all we're going to achieve here is to get that piece of foam to stick to the lower platen so we have an easier time registering the second one over top of it. And this is literally going to be a couple seconds, and it should stick nicely to our lower platen, which is going to give us a lot easier time to stick this one on top of it and get a nice registration. And then we'll use some thermal tape. Okay, now that we've got them lined up nicely, we will again use our craft paper as a cover sheet. And we're going to give this only a couple seconds as well. We are at 290, and the pressure is fluctuating between a 2 and a 3, only for a couple seconds. If we peel our tape off, you can see we now have one piece of foam background that actually consists of two pieces. So now we got a little bit more dimension. We're going to take our UltraColor Max, just like we did with the flock, and we'll pull a couple more pieces of tape. And we're going to do the lineup on this as well. Okay. We're going to do the same 3-4 seconds. We'll give a quick peel on this UltraColor Max. And there you go. Now you have an UltraColor Max on top of 2 layers of foam to give that added dimension to either the hat or the piece of apparel that it will be applied to. So if you'd like to speed up the process when making your own custom tags, the last 2 we did had a custom shape, so we've got to do those one at a time or possibly in groups of 2. But consider selling your clients their logos either in a rectangle or a square form, because then what we can do is we can take a small sheet like this. This is some soft foam that we've already peeled from the carrier. And what we like to call it is we'll do it in grid form. We have some UltraColor Max, and you can do this on a bigger piece with more logos. We're just doing a small one just to show you the process here. So our press is still set at 290, same pressure, fluctuating between 2 and 3. So we've got the UltraColor Max down in grid form onto the soft foam. No need to tape it down. We'll just put the cover sheet over top of it. And we're gonna give it some heat here for a couple seconds, and then we're gonna peel immediately. Peels really nice, and then I like to remove it as quickly as possible. That way we don't overactivate the adhesive on the back. And that's one of the reasons why we do it either on a lower platen that has the Teflon cover on it, or using a Teflon sheet down, because the Teflon will allow the foam or the flock adhesive not to stick to it, which gives us now a grid pattern that we can come back in and trim with an X-Acto knife and a straight edge. Makes it really handy if you're going to go to an event and you need to have a lot of these on hand, because you might be applying them to different hats or different apparel. So now we can do multiple rows, multiple sheets fairly quick without having to align each one separately. Okay, let's get started and show you how easy it is to apply our custom patches to a couple of these hats. So we've got our Fusion IQ 360 here. We're set at 294 degrees. I think our pressure is about a 5 or a 6. We're going to get this first hat on here. We definitely want to fold out the sweatband and make sure we're sitting right in that groove up front. Get it nice and even. Do like to give it a little pre-press to soften up that material on the back side of the hat so we can get a nice flat surface, and you can see we've got no gap in there, which is what we want to eliminate any of those creases. So we're going to take our emblem that we just finished making, we're going to center it on here. We're going to pick a nice height, a nice location. And I think we're going to run this at about 12 to 15 seconds. Peel this nice and soft here. As you can see, we have a nice finished custom emblem that we created on our heat press with a base layer of flock and then our artwork out of UltraColor Max. Sits really, really nice in the seam. I know some people don't like to see the seam, some people do, but with the added background of the flock, that seam is a little less noticeable. So let's move on to the next one. So for this one, we've got a foam style trucker. Foam hats, in my opinion, are a little more temperamental when it comes to the foam, especially if you touch the foam while it's warm. Sometimes that foam tends to retain the little indents from your fingers touching it, but I think we're going to be all right. Give it a little pre-press there. Again, this one is the one that we doubled up the foam instead of the flock to give it a little bit more dimension. I'm going to find our center. And again, we're going to go about 12 to 15 seconds. When we go to peel this off, we're not going to touch the foam, or we're not going to touch the foam of the hat. Because like I said, sometimes with the heat on the foam, any type of fingerprints will retain in that foam front. You can see we got a nice finished application on there. We have good adhesion, and we have a little more raised dimension look than just a single layer, since we used the 2 layers of the foam. Let's head over to the heat press for one final application. So here we are at the heat press. We've got our independent flannel loaded on, and we do have a pillow underneath to help with the seams and the buttons sinking down in for this application. We are going to use also a gray silicone pad only on this half to protect the buttons from any melting that may occur. So we've got that set up nicely. We are set at 290 degrees, and we have our custom tag emblem that we made earlier today. And this is out of soft foam and UltraColor Max. So we're going to get our position here. Our pressure, I believe, is about a 6 with the pillow. And we're going to use a cover sheet as well. So we'll put these on here. And we're going to give it 15 seconds. Let's remove the cover sheet. That patch sit and cool for a couple minutes before we pull it off. And that's just another way that you can create a higher end look with custom tags that are made in-house. Another benefit to these custom tags that we did today is we don't need lower heat. A lot of the other emblems, your patches, your flex style and stuff like that require bottom heat. This is a nice option if you don't have the lower heat at your disposal. So today we covered a few examples of how to make some custom tags for hats or apparel. I hope it's inspired you guys to not only try these techniques at home and also explore other techniques combining Stahls products. Today we used UltraColor Max, some soft flock, and some soft foam to help create these one-of-a-kind looks. And also, it is definitely worth the time and effort to create these higher end looks, because we know what Josh always says, higher perceived value creates a higher end profit for you.